Black makeup in Japan. That's the premise of this video. Let's get into it. So I have made a video about black makeup in Japan. I did it on TikTok, but things have changed, so I decided to update it. But the overall premise of this video is to provide black women an honest, clear, and direct answer to where they can buy makeup. As a reference, my foundation match is either going to be a Fenty 425, Maybelline 355, which is called Coconut, and or NARS Macau or Marquise. There aren't a lot of options, especially in person. You might see on the internet people mentioning like certain brands, being like, oh, well, this brand has it. But look at when that video was made, it's probably no longer there. Typically, they have like a promotional period where they like to appeal to people with darker skin complexions. It'll last for maybe a few months, maybe even 6 months, and then they'll pull it. So it's no longer there and they go back to the default. So if you're a visitor, you might have a harder time finding foundation match or a concealer match that goes with your skin tone. It's not impossible, it's just less likely. Starting with the hardest one, in-person options. The darkest foundation shade that you can find that is common would be a Maybelline 330. If you are a Maybelline 330, whether that's in the Fit Me or the other types, you can typically go to the mall and find your shade. So that's like your Marui or your Nocti. You can even go to certain drug stores or pharmacy stores, beauty stores, wellness stores. If you are a higher number than 330, then you're going to have to go somewhere else. There are two options. One is Big C, and then the other one is Addiction. Big C, Big Cosme. Not just any Cosme, but this Cosme should be like a standalone store. That is like the Cosme in Jingu Mae. It's its own building. It has multiple floors. That is where you will most likely have your best chance at finding your shade that matches you. I can't guarantee it, but if we're talking about promotional items that actually match your skin tone, then your best bet is to go to a big Cosme because they'll have all of the products. Short, sweet, and to the point. I wouldn't recommend you trying to go to like the ones that are in the mall, like the Maruis or the Noctis, because they're not going to carry that. They're typically going to carry the Maybelline 330. Anything darker than that, no bueno. I looked through like 12 Maruis and maybe 2 Noctis. I wasn't able to find any shade darker than that. And since the Cosmes are very big, they have like different vendors or stalls. They have the different brands. I used to go to Decorte and get the 72N. Unfortunately, they stopped selling that. Now I wouldn't recommend going to Decorte, which to me makes it 10 times harder because they were the one of 2 brands that actually catered to darker skin complexions. Now I just have to see what promotional items will come out. And if they have it in my skin tone, I'll go up and I'll get it in person. If not, I just stick to being online. Now, if you really are desperate for makeup and you're like, I can make things work, I can even try to use concealer, then to me, I would recommend you going to the Cosme, the Big C, and going into the Addiction Beauty section. And that's the name of the actual brand. This store does not sell foundation. However, they do carry concealers that can match your complexion. So if you're looking at the video I made right now, you'll see down in a circle at the bottom, more like an oval, that there are different foundation shades, and that is the range of their shades. It's very limited, but that's the best I can do. Typically, if you were to go to the Cosme, I think they have all of these shades, but I do know they have like the espresso or the mocha. So if you know how to make concealer and use it as a foundation, that would be your best bet if you're visiting. And those are the only 2 that I have at the moment. If I find more, I'll either make a part 2 or I'll put it down in the comments of the video, whatever is going to be easier for me to do. Now that's all I have for those who are going to be traveling to Japan and they need something on the spot in person. But if you are living here in Japan, there are a bit more options for you. And those options are iHerb, Amazon.co.jp, and Makeup.jp. I went in the order from what's going to be the cheapest to what's going to probably be the most expensive. And depending on what you're trying to get, Amazon.co.jp and Makeup.jp will switch back and forth. So let me start with the cheapest one, and that's iHerb. So the website is jp.iherb.com because you need to be on Japan's server. That way you can see what is being shipped in Japan. So to me, I'm going to call this drugstore makeup because they typically hold stock of the makeup that you'll see in a drugstore like a Walgreens or a CVS. This is like your L'Oreal, True Match, maybe your LA Colors. Typically they'll have Maybelline on and off, the higher brand and the lower brand, which is, I don't know. It's like the one that has like the white and silver label. And then there's the Fit Me. I think they have like Rimmel London as well, but Rimmel London doesn't carry it in darker shades. but it's not many more of them. In my video again, I kind of put the darkest shades that they have. So for Black Radiance, I think it was Cocoa Bean. For LA Color Skin Tint, it is Espresso. And for True Match, it is a C8. Plus size to this is that iHerb typically reflects the price that you would get it for in the US. So it's still cheap. Unfortunately, for the site, the way I look at it, they have very limited supply of these foundations and possible concealers, and you don't know when it's going to restock. Sometimes you can have a restock in a week. Sometimes it's been months and they just don't restock it again. It's up to the company to decide that. Or you don't mind using like the drugstore makeup, this might be your best chance. And I'll leave that there. Okay, Amazon.co.jp. That is just Japan's version of Amazon. And just like Amazon, where you can buy maybe food, makeup, and clothes, the same goes here, but it's more limited because my foundation shades and yours, if you kind of match me or are darker than me, it isn't common here. And they can't even put in an order for it to be shipped here because they have like separate codes or programs for what they can buy. And one of those is, unfortunately, the darker shades are US version and they are going to stay in the US. So I went down to Ginza and I went to that big little shopping area where all the makeup is. And I went to the NARS, I think Revlon, there's one other, MAC. I went to MAC and I asked them if I could get this shade because I wanted it. And they told me that no, it's not possible. We can't even bring that up in our server. They couldn't ring it up on their device because that product does not exist for them here. It is an international brand, thus it needs to only be international. So Amazon.co.jp is going to have a lot of limited resources, but they're going to have more than the in-store version because the in-store version only carries it up to like the 330 shade. Now, for this to be effective for you and to not waste your time, I recommend knowing the product that you had, type it up and see if there's an option to buy it. Now you look at the pricing, I'll say you got a 15% chance that it's going to be higher and more expensive or lower respectively. So sometimes it just don't seem like it's worth it. And it's like, if it's going to be that high, then I'll just buy the brand that I want and pay the full price for that, which then brings me into the third website, which is makeup.jp. This site carries all of the makeup brands. Now, they might not be in stock, but they know enough about the most popular international brands that they have it on their site and you can search for it. You can search for your foundation. You can actually pick the brand that you want to look for, click on it and see if they have it. Now, here, you're going to be paying the price that you would back home. There's no way around it, which, I mean, if you're getting paid again, it sucks. I know, but you are able to get your product and you don't have to wait for it to be imported in. This is your most expensive option, but it's basically a one-stop shop for everything. Your foundation, your concealer, your highlighters, your bronzer, your brushes. You can get NYX here as well because you can buy like the NYX lip gloss. You know, if you want to pay the cost, you can. And if you don't, try to wait until a sale comes on. And they typically do it once every 4 months. So if you're lucky, you'll catch it on sale, get it discounted, and then just have it shipped to you. So let me mention in the images that I have on this slide, I have the Maybelline Fit Me, and that shade was a 355, which is my shade. I also see the NARS Sheer Glow foundation. They had that in the Macau and the Marquise, but that's 8,419 yen, and that's on a discount. And then they also had like the Fenty Soft Matte foundation. The darkest shade they had of that is a 498. So they have definitely a wider range of darker skin foundation shades. But let's say you looked at them, you don't like any of them, you really want NARS, or you really want the Fenty, or you want like a Lancome, the Mario, Haws House, something. Then there is one final option, and I'll say this is your last resort, and that is Amazon.com. Now, I know I mentioned Amazon, but I mentioned Amazon.co.jp. This is Amazon.com product. This is the US server. Why does this matter? Because they're already going to sell your shade. Most makeup brands have an Amazon store, or they sell Amazon products that can be shipped to Japan. The downside is you're going to have to pay a delivery fee. You might have to pay an import fee, or you're going to have to pay both. So if you're looking at the slide in the red box, you'll see that it says JPY in Japanese yen, 1,297 delivery on Monday, May 4th, ships to Japan. So basically, it's letting you know, hey, it ships to Japan. It's going to cost you 1,297 yen for us to deliver it. And the estimated delivery date is May 4th. Sometimes it can be this fast, and sometimes it can take a long time. Certain products might take 30 days to get here. So if you're going to use the Amazon.com, I recommend that you have at least a month's supply worth of makeup left and go ahead and buy what you want and have it shipped. So this delivery fee also does not take into consideration the fact that there might be an import charge. So sometimes it's an import charge and it's just that, and they don't do a delivery fee. Some people actually require there to be import charge. You have to do your calculations on makeup.jp and amazon.com and to see which one would be cheaper and or more financially beneficial to you. A lot of people would just go with makeup.jp because it's one stop. You're going to pay for everything. If it's there, it's there. And if it's not, it's not. And you know that it can pass through immigrations because it would need to go through customs because it's in Japan. That is it. Hopefully I was clear and that my images show out quite nice so you guys can understand. If there's questions, please let me know and I'll try my best to answer them. And yeah, I'll see you around.